Welcome to the Business of Beautiful Spaces, a podcast that's specifically for interior designers and decorators. This is the podcast for designers and decorators who love creating beautiful spaces, but also know that building a profitable business is what makes it all sustainable. Hi, I'm Laura Thornton, and after nearly 30 years in the interior design industry and building a seven-figure design firm, I know firsthand how lonely it can feel running your own business. Making big decisions without a boardroom, without a business partner, or another executive team member to walk things through. That's exactly why this podcast exists. Think of me as your interior design bestie, the place you come for honest conversations, real action items, and a clear to-do list that you can apply today to move the needle forward and improve your bottom line. And if you can't get the answers you're looking for here, one-on-one mentorship with me is always available because no designer and decorator should have to figure this out alone. My goal with every episode is simple: to help you build a more profitable, confident design business and propel you into sustainable, successful future. So let's dive in. Hey, welcome back to the Business of Beautiful Spaces. I'm Laura Thornton, and today we're talking about something that every designer wants, but not everyone knows how to build, and that is longevity in our businesses. Because let's be honest, trends shift, platforms change, the market has seasons, and the designers and brands that last are the ones who evolve without losing themselves. Today's guest is Jamie Young of Jamie Young Co., and that brand that has grown and adapted over decades while staying rooted in timeless style and strong values. In this conversation, Jamie shares what it's really like and what it really takes to build a business that endures, how she's navigated change, and how she decides what to embrace, what to ignore, and how she's kept her point of view very consistent while staying very relevant. If you're a designer who wants to create a brand that people trust year after year, you are going to love this one. So let's get into it. Welcome back to another episode of the Business of Beautiful Spaces. I'm joined today with Jamie Young. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Me too. I'm sorry I don't have a voice, so everybody listening, it comes and goes. We'll see how the day goes. But Jamie, can you start off with telling us how you got into this design world?
Sure. I am going on almost our 29th year. I was pregnant with my first son, and I went to art school, Parsons School of Design. I learned design, commercial design. My husband was a sculptor and painter, but we needed a way to make a living. He was building high-end furniture in Los Angeles, and I had this crazy idea about cement garden pots. I was in Mexico, down in Tijuana. I saw some on the street. I put them in my truck. I drove them to Los Angeles and sold them to florists. That is actually how I started. I have a deep background as an entrepreneur family and an artistic family. So growing up in Los Angeles, I was really surrounded by tons of different kinds of creative entrepreneurs. And it was always in my DNA to do something on my own. So I started selling cement pots. People loved them. And then we poured a cement table lamp. I love textiles. My husband was a sculptor. We kind of combined forces. And that's really how we started.
And 30 years later.
30 years later, right? We still make some concrete table lamps, actually, which is really kind of cool. But David was an explorer, right? My husband, and he said, let's just travel the world. Let's find cool stuff. And I came from the commercial design side of things. He had a deep rooted history and knowledge of art history and kind of the global ideas of where things are made. Again, we combined forces. And, we are not third generation business where we've been doing this forever and my father did it and my grandfather did it or vice versa. We really came in a little bit naive. And I think that was to our benefit. So we went for things that some people probably would say don't go for. Or do you know how hard it is? Or do you know how much money it costs? All the stuff that as entrepreneurs, you probably should think through before you start. That being said, we got lucky quickly. We designed some really cool stuff. We went to a New York gift show and started selling very quickly, and then figured out how to produce very quickly. Made a lot of mistakes, thought that we were going to not make it over and over and over and over, and just really bulldozed through it. Said, no, I'm not quitting. No, I got to figure this out every turn. Okay, this is hard, but how do we do more? And we started developing a name, and that was really exciting. We started developing a look, a DNA to our brand very early on. And I think that that's been what makes this exciting business continue to grow is we always go back to our roots. We always go back to trying to be as authentic as possible to what we love. Yes, we have to sell products. So it's that combination of design and commerce that has been probably what's allowed us to keep going because we always have to have our eye on, is it profitable? And at the same time, is it beautiful? Can it sell? And that's how we continue to do the business.
I love that because you hit on so many things that are just every entrepreneur's, wake up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't matter if it's 10 years in or like I'm actually approaching 28 years. And so it's wild that I still feel like I have so much to figure out and have figured out and can offer so much to the next generation coming up. But I didn't realize now until you start looking back, and this was kind of going to be my question for you, but I think you kind of nailed it already. I was never thinking that I was designing for longevity. I was always just trying to hit the markers, get the profits to be able to get to the next, like do all the things that as an entrepreneur is typically quite lonely. Like the nice for you is that you had each other. You could bounce ideas off each other, but it doesn't mean that, like you said, yes, you have somebody who's an entrepreneur in your family, but not in the same market. But it
No,
allowed you to think outside those boxes and to think that like you could do it, right? Like my dad too was also an entrepreneur. So it was part of my household conversations. He was a builder. So it was everything around me. But I didn't work for him or take over his business. You do it on your own and you figure it out at a different time and a different way. But have you thought about designing for longevity at this point, 30 years in? And if so, what does that mean for you at this stage?
well, such a good question. I've never designed for fast trend. That's never been what resonates for me, whether it's in clothing or anything I'm doing. I've always thought about, is this something that people want to live with? And different than clothing, thank God, we don't have to reinvent ourselves 4 times a year, right? For fashion. Like, I don't even know how you do it. Um, our designs have longevity because we try to create things that feel familiar. The word comfortable, I wish I could think of a better word, but feel like someone is comfortable living with these products and also in love with them. So longevity is part of that kind of combination, right? We have some table lamps in the line I've had for 10, 15 years that still sell. And
Yeah.
um, so I think we do design for longevity. And with the caveat that you have to stay fresh. When I started, we had this whole mix and match shade and base program. In theory, it was fantastic. People got to know Jamie Young Company because you could mix and match your shades. We had all these gorgeous patterns and shapes, and people could come to us and buy this lamp base and this shade, and super fun. Inventory was awfully hard and challenging.
Yeah,
And
I can imagine.
unlike picking fabric for a sofa that is, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, you were picking fabric for a lampshade, which was 75, 100, 200 at the time. And the math wasn't making sense, right? People
Mhm.
loved the concept, but then it got so hard for someone because they were overwhelmed with choices. What it did for me was ground a DNA even more, our brand, what we love. It got us to really think creatively. And but at the same time, I just learned so much about making it as simple as possible for our customer. They want a very simple customer experience. And so we've always straddled the idea of fantastic design, some really forward thinking with um, something that feels familiar or traditional or transitional in a sense so that the client can easily place it into their customers' homes. So we're always going back and forth on that. What does that look like? If that
And
helps.
I love that you keep referring to it aligning with, and I guess we call it core values here, but like I love that you keep coming back to that as the principle of the business. And I want to add two-part question. One, has any of that evolved over 30 years? Like have your core, has it changed along with you to help the legacy? And also, when you're talking about having so many lines, and quality and craftsmanship obviously is very critical to be able to have a legacy. How do those two, like I always struggle with, I mean, I don't struggle with my core values, but like you want core values, you still have to be profitable. You got to be in business to make money, or we're not going to be in business at all. But quality obviously is super important. And like having such a broad line of items, how do you get all of that to come together as a process? I hope that
It's
makes sense.
it does make
Like,
sense, and
yeah.
it's our biggest challenge every day, right?
Yeah.
We've got about 1,000 SKUs in our collection. Some of the bigger companies have 2, 3, 5,000 SKUs. Some of the smaller companies have 200 SKUs. We find our sweet spot and try to maintain a certain SKU count. How many products do we have per category? We started in table lamps and then from there expanded to the full lighting collection and then mirrors, accessories, and occasional furniture. So we're always reevaluating and strategizing on this is the collection. What do we need? What are we missing? What sells? Do we have what we always call white socks? My business partner, Gary Finder, he came from the sock background actually, and he's an operations guy. Really smart, understands operations and money. He came on board about 15 years ago when we realized we took it as far as we could without true solid operational background. And he brought this concept to me that was super helpful in that everybody buys white socks. So do you have your white socks? And that helped me look at things a little differently. My elevated basics, I always have to have. My core product has to be there. And then do you have enough wows? Do you have enough things that because everything we introduce, we inventory, we stock, we own before we sell. The development time, the sampling time,
Mm-hmm.
the time traveling around overseas, the photography time, the marketing time. When we started, I didn't think about most of this, right? I had a basic business plan. I just wanted to make really cool stuff and sell as much as it as I could.
Because it sounded so easy.
Right? It is so easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until you listed all those other things that cost money, time, and effort. Yeah.
You a little bit be careful what you wish for. Everybody wants to grow and grow and grow. But as you grow, there is a lot of structure that's required. We like to be a pretty casual, friendly, welcoming company on the outside, but structured, quality, customer service, organizational structure, saying that word again, on the inside so that we can run a good operation.
Yeah.
So I'm always struggling, again, going back and forth. What works? Do I have some wows? Do I have my elevated white socks?
I love the white socks.
Right? And the
I
elevated
love
white
that.
socks have to be at a cost that makes sense. I'm not going to be the least expensive company on the block. My quality is going to be really good, but am I hitting all the notes for people who need those great neutral portable table lamps? Am I hitting those notes on scale and texture and shape and size? So I've learned a lot about analyzing and strategizing and being intentional. I just keep going back to that stuff. Running a company is it. I don't know that it ever gets easy. I still wake up
I
at
think it
three
gets
o'clock in the
harder.
morning. I think sometimes it does. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it gets
And the
harder.
climate of the world makes it harder. Like, let's, w- I didn't go into this as an international logistics genius, that's for sure. I went to art school. I loved design. I loved art direction. I loved marketing and I loved people. Learning international logistics and what that means is how do you move product from one place all the way to your warehouse to ship it? That's something that people don't think about. And interior designers have to think about logistics from my warehouse to their customer. We have to think about logistics from, you know, India, which I've been traveling
Conception.
to.
Yeah.
Yes, conception. And when you see
Yeah.
the factories that we are producing in all over the world, they're out of the middle of nowhere on some dirt road in the desert with most of the factory that I adore not speaking English, hand making things, having to get packaging from some other place that could be moving by camel to horse to some ricochet to finally get to the factory. Like that's the real truth.
Yeah.
And we have to make sure that it's packed right. That is it is environmentally safe as possible? Is the factory meeting all the codes that as US citizens or Canadians that we require? All of those things have to happen. So it is a lot.
And it's wild. My sister was a buyer for 20 years for a large, I won't say what it is, but she was a buyer for years and years, just transitioned in the last 6 months. And the places that she was going in India and China and all these places to produce product for the company was unbelievable. And you have to, these are the things that I think designers, and then we can take this knowledge to our client and explain why a lamp or an end table or a piece of furniture costs what it costs, because somebody had to fly somewhere and do what you just said, which sounds cheap and cheerful to be on like a horse and carriage, but that's not the reality. The reality is it's time away, it's time there, it's designing, it's waiting, it's shipping, it's get logistics, it's on a boat, it's here. Like, think about all the things that you listed, I just listed, and we don't have a product here yet. So of course it's not going to cost, you know, 2 digits to be able to purchase anything, and pricing is going up, as we all know. So I know you and I were talking just a bit briefly about like tariffs and that situation, and we'll get into that later, but it can't be that people are expecting to still have any pricing that is going to be anything reflective. Well, pre-COVID is one thing, but to compete, if you want quality and something different and something fabulous, you're not going to be buying it at a big box store. Let's be clear. Like that's
No, you can't.
yep.
It's a very different animal. And I think I can speak for Jamie Young Company, we've really worked hard at handmade product. We've worked hard at giving our customers something unique and special and made by people, designed by people with a human touch that aren't perfect. And we have to be smart enough to tell that story so that designers can tell their clients those stories, and it's very important, or else none of us stay in business.
Yeah, exactly.
We talk about AI a lot, but we get to be in a business that actually makes something by hand,
Yeah.
by people. And you can't take that away.
No. And once your clients have these beautiful pieces that are not mass produced, they actually want more of it. You can see the difference. It's not even just a visual thing, it's a tactile thing, it's the quality, it's how long it'll last. Once you start getting in, like if anyone listening hasn't done this yet with their clients, they'll come back again and again and again because you don't have what the neighbor has, and they don't want what the neighbor has. They want those pieces that are individual to them and their home.
Right. I mean, we're hoping for that, because that's our whole model is handmade, ceramic glazes that are interesting, which also mean no two are alike. And I know that's hard because the customer's like, oh, I want that handmade, beautiful thing. And then they get it and it's not exactly the same. And it's the designer's job to say it's not supposed to be the same.
Yeah.
Where
like a great slab, it's never going to be. Yeah.
Right.
No two alike.
Exactly.
Like a snowflake. You're in California. I'm in Toronto. So I say snowflakes. It's like snowflakes. There's no two the same.
Exactly. No, it's true. It's true.
So I want to ask you then about your marketing to be in business 30 years. Is that part of your marketing, is the one of a kind and the tech, and is that which made you stand out against all the other people that are in the same industry?
I think it's how we tell our story. Yes, we have to keep telling a story. I think that connecting to people is so important. And that's what we try to do in our marketing. You know, when I started, there was no social media marketing, right? So you told stories by beautiful postcards and photography and send out letters and send out catalogs and then show up at trade shows. And I was at every single trade show. I met every single customer. I still am at every trade show because I think the connection is so important. I get to listen to what designers are looking for. I get to tell my story and hopefully they tell their story. And then we get to be on these great podcasts so we can tell more stories, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully teach designers about that part when they're buying product, when they're at the product stage of their project. So our marketing is really important. I have a great marketing team. And it's always about handmade product. It's always about natural, organic, elevated neutrals, elevated casual looks, because that's what our DNA has been about, is a slightly more casual way of living. We still have glamour, we still have urban, we still have country, we still have coastal. People know us for coastal because I was born and raised in Southern California. So it was innately in me to design that way. Yeah. But we have all the different things, but it always goes back to, does it feel like someone really made this by hand? Does it feel authentic? And
I know you mentioned that travel really inspires you as well, or I read it maybe in your website.
oh yeah.
And like that's really inspirational for you and the products in which you'll have made. But do you have go-to places that you love to travel to or you find that are the most inspiring, or do you just pick something new every time?
Well, yes, travel is probably the most important thing we've done in our business and in our personal life, right? I have 2 grown sons and we just took them with us from the time they were 5 years old. You know, not everybody agreed with me, but I didn't really care.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm having a business and I'm raising kids and I want to be with my kids and this is the way it's going to go.
Make it work. Yes.
Make it work,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
It's just what it is. But we started in India. We fell in love with India as a country, the people and their the quality of the work that they do, the craftsmanship. And we really built our business in India and then went, and we're now in Vietnam, Indonesia, Philippines, India, and China. And in China, we adore our factories. We have great relationships. They're smaller factories. They're family owned, just like we are. So we go to the country that makes what we're looking for. So every country, every town, village, every shop, factory specializes in something. Mouth-blown glass out of China in northern China called Dalian, you can't find it anywhere else. So we go there because they do spectacular work. And metals and some leathers and beading we do out of India. So each country does something special. But wherever we travel, my husband and I now travel together, which is fabulous. Now that our kids are all grown up, we make sure to take a day here, 2 days there, wherever we are, so that we could really be indoctrinated into the country and its culture. It's part of our favorite things.
And so speaking of, it sounds like this is part of that answer, but after 30 years, it's got to be, because we're all creatives. And at some point you get that, like, I am not able to, like you tap out or you need but what keeps you energized 3 decades later and keeps your creativeness going, all those juices and all the, those moments where you're like, aha, like what does that for you? What keeps you energized? Let's face it, running your own interior design business can feel overwhelming. But guess what? You don't have to do it alone. I am so excited to introduce a brand new way to get the support you need. One-on-one mentorship with me, Laura Thornton, your interior design bestie. In just one focused hour, we'll dive into whatever you need most, whether that's pricing strategies, client management, presentations, attracting clients, building up a repeat business, or just getting out of the hamster wheel. You'll get clarity, strategy, and expert advice based on my 28 years of running a thriving business and over the last decade, a 7-figure design firm. This is your chance to get real answers to the questions you've been dying to ask from someone who's actually been there and is currently still walking the walk. Book your session as you need it. There are no strings attached. You'll walk away with personalized, actionable advice that you can implement right away. One-on-one, 1-hour sessions as you need it. Head to the website or click the link in the show notes to book your mentorship session, and let's build a beautiful, profitable business that you've been dreaming of together.
Well, I would love to say that I'm always energized and I always feel creative. But of course, that's not true. And I go through, I mean, my goodness, COVID was really tough. You couldn't travel. You were just trying to figure out how to produce enough product that you already have to ship because everybody was at home and all they wanted to do was redecorate. Being creative was not on the top of my list at that point. We were trying, but very, very hard. It ebbs and flows, and personal life gets in the way and all of those things. So travel has been probably the best thing I could do. We go to a different country, we see incredible Buddhist temples, and we see handmade materials and woven different kind of weaves that people are doing in baskets and color palettes, and it's all from travel. I just got back from Sun Valley in Ketchum, and there was this one store, and I was so excited to see something so unique where it was a collection, but her merchandise she was a merchandiser. She was really good at this. And the way she mixed everything together. And that inspired me to see color neutrals with a million different textures and incredible Moroccan rugs layered with handmade ceramic vases that all spoke to what we already do. We don't do rugs, but we do so much of the other layers. So I get inspired from everything, but travel is the biggest one for sure. It keeps my juices going.
Yeah. I always find that when I do get away, as much as I'm turning off some of the work mind, it's not always, but you kind of get that like refresh. But meanwhile, I'm doing the same thing as you. I'm taking pictures of floors, I'm taking pictures of ceiling. Like you're inspired in every corner of different countries, and yet you don't think it's work, but you're always taking all that back with you and use it as a tool in future projects. That's the one thing I always find about travel is that I get two out of it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, travel is we've just traveled so much that vacation travel, I don't even know what that is, because we've just wrapped vacation around our business travel. But the other thing I do get inspired about is fashion. I do love fashion, and I think that I'm always looking at the way color palettes are put together and mixed materials are put together, and how can I incorporate that into the home more? So those things keep me excited, but it ebbs and flows. I don't want any listener to think that I wake up for 30 years straight, like, let's go, this is amazing, because that would be unrealistic.
I know. We all have and you were saying it earlier in the episode where I was thinking, that we could hit on so many things here, but you were talking about almost being 30 years in the business. And then of course there's so much of entrepreneurship that goes in as you're scaling to a business your size. It is so much less about the pretty things, even though that's of course part of the business. And there's so much of being and working on the business and in the business. Like that's just the nature of it once you start scaling. Like I've been here since 7:30 this morning. It's 4:30 in the afternoon now. And nothing on my to-do list has gotten done because you can't plan things. You could plan all you want, but there's always another plan. And I'll probably be here for another 4 hours because I don't allow myself to leave until the 3 things that I've written down in the morning has to get done before I leave. Because if I don't, who knows what fires I'm going to have to put out tomorrow.
Right.
But, this is the nature of entrepreneurship. And I find it great to think that we're all like, and again, I have 2 parts of it. I always think we all got into business because you said you loved a pot. You love this thing where you're like, I love this and I could also sell it. Same thing. I love design and I can sell it. And so you do that. But at some point, the design and the pretty things became less than 15% of my business, and then you're doing all the things that it takes to run that business on the rest of the day. So
that is the hard part.
Yeah.
I that is part of what we did when we brought in a partner, is to allow for that so that I could keep doing the creative part,
Yeah.
I do try to give myself time to think, and time to that is not about putting out fires. It's so easy to get caught up in that. And
Totally.
I say that to people all the time, if you wake up, like I wake up very early. So if I start working in my home office at 6 a.m., I have a couple of hours that are really quiet. And
It's the
it's
best.
not, I don't feel overworked. I feel like I get to think.
Yeah.
And I do so much better when I have time to think. I don't react to things quickly. I don't react emotionally. I solve problems better. I can be more intentional again. And then I get more creative.
Yeah. It's my
All of
most
that
productive
stuff.
time of the day.
Yes. And I
It's my
think
most productive time. Yeah.
as we're seasoned in what we've been doing, because we have been doing this for a while, if there's a takeaway, it's how do you take time? And when I was younger and raising two little kids while I was doing it with my husband, you're just running. And I wish I could tell my younger self, like, it's okay.
Slow down. Yeah.
Slow down, because when you think not, the sky is actually not falling. It feels like it
Yeah.
is. But
Yeah.
so I do better when I slow down a little.
But I mean, I think part of that is like, I often think that too, because you think, gosh, those years went by fast. And like you were saying, how you're running with your boys and traveling. I did the same thing. And my husband's also an entrepreneur. And my children knew all my vendors. They had bedding lines named after them. They had sofas named after
Yeah.
them. There was a lot of Brendan and Brogan lines in Toronto that people are probably like, where did this name come from? It's my children.
Yeah.
Because they were in the bucket from the little bucket that snapped into the back seat. They were coming to all the places with me because that's what you do. And, I don't think I mean, I won't speak for you, but for me, this is just what I knew. This is what I knew, that this is what had to get done, and I was going to get it done. And you just did it and didn't think about it. So now looking back, you think, well, I wish I could, but can you do that? Because that was what built our businesses, right? So like you did it, and like you
Yes.
just, like I think
You're
that's all
right.
I knew. Yeah.
That's all I knew. And I did
Yeah.
it, and then put the kids to sleep, and then worked on my dining room
That's
table
right.
until, 11:30,
Jamie, I
12.
still do that, and my children in their 20s. I
I know.
still, I always call it pretending to watch TV. It's because it feels like that way I've spent time with my husband. Like he's over there and I have my laptop and I pretend I'm watching whatever with him as I'm working
Right?
away.
I know. I feel like it's so true, and it's exhausting. And I just wish, that, first of all, I don't remember anyone ever saying life work balance when I started. Like it didn't exist. No one,
Yeah.
I do respect the generation for speaking about it. I think that it is helpful. I think that there's a balance to even that. There are times to find it, and there are times when it just doesn't exist. And if you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to work for a smaller company, you've got to be flexible enough to do both. You have to find both things, right? We're business women, we're creatives, and I know when you say 15% creative, I was like, oh gosh, I know that feeling. But I will say, where I am today, I get to be more creative than I used to, and that's helpful. And I do give myself more time to think and process, and then I'm better at what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I give myself more time to react. That is probably my biggest learning. I am a very compassionate, empathetic, mushy female. And I'm proud of that. That's what makes me who I am. I like that. At the same time, that creates challenges for me because I feel things too strongly. And I think creatively, for creatives, it's great, the creative side, because I'm just full passion. Sometimes for running a business or working with employees or making tough decisions, it's hard. So I've learned personally to take a breath, to not react, to sometimes wait 24 hours before I answer, before I make a decision. And that has been very helpful. That, if anything, telling my younger self that would have been nice.
Yeah. I feel like the best thing that ever came out of AI, because I'm the opposite of you. My sister always says, you're the nicest person until you're not. And it
Ah,
means it's like, I've hit my, like, as they also say, it's when my Irish comes out. Like when I get mad, it's mad. So the one thing that the 24-hour rule I learned from having my boys in hockey, and I now apply it, but also the Chat GPT, can you finesse this email so I still sound polite and professional while being stern, because I could very easily sound rude and curt and short, even though it's not the intention always. So that's the one gift that AI has given me, is that it
oh,
finesses my emails to not be colossally mean.
I think I'm sure you're not colossally mean, but I do understand. It's like, how am I want to communicate something or organize my thoughts a certain way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's where I use it. And it's really helpful. I agree with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I don't use it for creativity at all.
No.
I don't use it even for creative writing because I find it sounds robotic. But I do use it for organizing my thoughts and structure. And that's been phenomenal for me because that's not my natural DNA in my brain, right? So yeah, it's being an entrepreneur is just so fascinating. And being a creative, mixing it, and in today's world where it's much harder. I don't think
Mhm.
people can start businesses like mine in today's world the same way. You need an extraordinary amount of cash to start a business in what we do today because you have to hold inventory, you have to travel the world, you have to produce expensive product, you have to do all the marketing for it. When I started, I was literally driving down to Tijuana from California, from LA, and with,
Picking up,
$500 and picking up pots in my truck.
right.
It's very different. So we keep reinventing ourselves. We keep saying we're a legacy brand, but we're a startup. And it keeps my brain really fresh. It keeps my team feeling fresh and excited. So that's something else when we talk about longevity, not
Legacy.
to
Yeah.
just, and, is to loop back to that longevity thing. We're a legacy brand, but we're so fresh in so many ways. So people might have known us from 28 years ago, 30 years ago, but I encourage people like, come check out Jamie Young because we are very fresh in everything we're doing in all the categories. And that's been my driving voice to our whole company.
And I don't know if I don't stop. I've only in the last few years, I think when I turned 50, I started to do the real deep dive of reflection of what it actually means to have almost a 30-year-old business, and how few of them make it even past 5 years. Like, and to your point, now I just read a stat last week, and it was that the average entrepreneur or new company that starts up in North America, so Canada and US and whatever other countries, lasts maybe a year. And that's 50% of new startups, which was shocking. So to your point, it is not easy. It's something that I don't know if you stop and put thought to. 30 years is a long time. And of course, that is a legacy that you have built, and how proud you should be to have it, because it means that there was a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of hustle, and a lot of work to get there. And that's something that once in a while I take a moment and realize, okay, like I did do that. You've done, like, it's not common. There is not a lot of businesses that say they have done and and are doing it, still doing it.
Yeah. No,
So
I mean, exactly.
hope you give
Kudos
yourself
to you.
a
Like we
pat on
all
the
need to
back
do
once in
that,
a while,
right?
right? Yeah.
Well, and I say this is so funny because I'm being very honest about this. I'm a very competitive person. And that is something that you can't, when you first meet me, that's not very clear. But I'm competitive, or else I wouldn't keep driving this crazy business. I want to drive the business, and there's always going to be companies that are bigger than me. There's always going to be companies that are doing more or doing better or bigger than me. But it does help me keep driving. The bad side is I forget to stop and say, oh my goodness, 30 years. We've survived so many crazy things in this industry, in this world, and we're still doing it, and we're doing a really good job. I do forget that. I think everybody who, if a year in design, startup people who get their first project, just be proud because it's hard. It is really hard to do.
Hard.
Yeah.
So true. And I mean, obviously, like, the whole title of this was branding that evolves trends, but rooted in timeless style. 30 years. You've done a lot of trends. and you're clearly rooted with your branding. But yeah, like I know we derailed, but I think other people listening who are entrepreneurs love to just hear that it doesn't matter if you're the designer or you're the vendor that we're purchasing from. We all have the same issues and the same entrepreneurship woes and the same thing is, and women owned. Like these are all things that people can relate to.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I think when you're a startup designer and you're looking for good vendors, something we talk about is make sure you have a relationship with them, or you have a
I
great
agree.
sales rep that you build a relationship with. And if you like what they do, buy more from them than spreading it out to too many vendors, because a good vendor has diversity of product, and you can really, unless they're very specific in what they do, right? But like a vendor, like I'm going to say like us, we have we have a lot of categories. Learned how to build, you become more important to your vendor.
Sure.
And
yeah,
then your vendor becomes more important to you, and it's just a better relationship. And
totally.
whether you're getting better pricing, you're getting better customer service, you're getting deliveries, so we make your life easier. Those are things that I think newer designers really need to think about to make their lives easier and more successful, both a way to
You
live
couldn't be
and
more right.
financially.
Yeah. And when you were saying it earlier and you were talking about the shows and all the things, and I feel like there was been probably, I don't know about you, but I feel like there's a decade where that was falling away and I'm seeing it come back. People are grasping because it was so important that we didn't have an option of Instagram and social media when I got started. You had to have a personal relationship with somebody. And I still work with the same vendors for 20 to 25 years here in Toronto. And it says something that we've been building like all of these decades of working together, our quality is aligned. But they will do things for me to help me out and help my project out or my timelines work because I want to give them the business and they want the business, and we've all grown together and there is a relationship there. And that would never have been cultivated over a DM on Instagram or an online company, like that you don't have a connection with somebody who works there. I can order online and send the PO and that's great, but they still know it's me because we've had this connection, and there's something to be said about that
Yeah, I
was
agree. And
fading, and I'm glad it's back.
me too. And come visit a trade show.
Yes.
Touch and feel
Yes.
product. Come meet the people who you are buying from. It makes a difference. I love it. I love being there and meeting everybody. I was just, as I said, I was in Ketchum and I went into a store, and I had met her in High Point, and she had a retail store in Ketchum, and we had a nice, great conversation. It was so nice to see her not in her own environment, understand what her store looks like, even though I'm not her rep. And I still, it's just good to have these relationships. It's going
Yeah.
to make a difference. The vendors want it as well.
Yeah. As you build up relationships, it's amazing and to your point, I have vendors who ask me, what are you seeing? And what do you want? What do you want to see? And and you actually not getting a say, but you're contributing to maybe getting one of these elements back that will help you in your business. Anyway, I think I'm so glad that like the connection part is coming back and people are seeing value and picking up a phone call instead of and going to shows instead of it all just being your invisible people with email names and that's it. So,
Yeah, there's got to have a soul to this stuff. In fact,
yeah.
we're doing a series of Zoom roundtables, where designers are going to sit with us and our team and just ask questions. And what are you looking for? What works? What doesn't work? What does your client
Mm-hmm.
want today? Or what are your pain points with vendors? We want to know that because we
Yeah.
want to get better.
Yeah. That's amazing. Jamie, I
Yeah.
could keep you literally here all evening because I could ask you all the things about processes and your first time, all the things. But I need you to tell everyone where they can find you. Even though I just was saying don't DM, but Instagram handles, website, where can everyone who's
Yeah.
looking to find Jamie Young find you?
Well, thank you. This was so much fun. I loved it, Laura.
Went fast.
Yeah, I know, right? JamieYoung.com. That's our website. It's very easy. You can go on the site. You can see everything. We do not sell to consumers on the site, but it is a consumer facing site, meaning you're going to see it with what, MSRP retails are. Log in there, become a trade customer. There's a big trade button, push trade, register, really easy. And we're also in High Point and in Atlanta. In High Point, we're in Inner Hall and in the IHFC building, the main building,
Yeah.
and on the second floor. And in Atlanta, we have a showroom in building 1 on the 15th floor. So
Amazing.
very easy to access us. We've got salespeople all over the country and in Canada, and we're really accessible. We want to hear from people. We want to help people. And I will say, you might have heard of us over the years, but pretend we're brand new, because you'll be so surprised. We have so much gorgeous new product from all over the world, because when the tariffs started hitting, we really pushed and we said, we got to make sure we're all over the country, all over the world, so that we're diversified. And that's what we've been doing.
Amazing. Well, thank you for your time today.
Thanks so much. Feel better.
Thank you.